All right, during a press conference in Moscow, Vladimir Putin said he needs more clarifications before Russia will agree to a ceasefire with Ukraine, while also adding that he is willing to negotiate with President Trump. That is called progress. Earlier today, addressing reporters in the Oval Office, President Trump called Putin's response, quote, promising but incomplete. Meanwhile, according to an NBC News report, the White House has asked the military to develop options for the Panama Canal, which allegedly range from partnering more closely with Panama's security forces to a less likely option of U.S. troops taking back control of the canal. Joining us now with the very latest on all of this, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. First, let me tip my hat to you. You, Secretary of State Rubio, Steve Witkoff, I know all of you are working very hard. Tell us what happened when you were in Saudi Arabia. Let's start there.
Well, first, Sean, the Secretary General of NATO was with President Trump today in the Oval Office, and he said it perfectly. He looked at the president and said, only you, President Trump, could have broken this logjam, this quagmire that President Biden got us into, World War I style trench warfare meat grinder of men, material, national treasure. That is completely unsustainable. So in Saudi Arabia, with our great Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, we had a very different approach from the Ukrainians than you saw just a week ago with President Zelensky in the Oval Office. They were very forthcoming. We had very good conversations. At one point, we even broke out a map and started drawing on it on how we're going to end this war. And you saw as a result of the end that the Ukrainians agreed that they need to move to a ceasefire. All sides need to move to a ceasefire. We have to stop the killing, as President Trump has said over and over again, and talk about a permanent end to this peace within European-led security in terms of a permanent peace. So all of those things are underway. And again, you know, as President Zelensky said in an initial phone call, as President Putin said on the initial phone call, and as the NATO Secretary General have said, only President Trump could have brought us from this far away. I mean, literally no sides talking, closer and closer together to end this war.
All right, let me ask you this. Russia says they're ready to discuss peace with Ukraine. Putin says he's open to a Ukraine peace deal. Putin did put out also a lot of caveats. My understanding is, I believe it's Steve Witkoff. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it's Steve Witkoff, and that there are meetings taking place in Moscow that took place today. I'm assuming you don't want to negotiate on national television and tell us everything that happened. I respect that. But do you have a level of confidence? I understand when Putin has his caveats, he's negotiating on his end. There are things he's going to want. There are things Zelensky's going to want. And neither Zelensky or Putin are going to get everything that they want if we're going to get a deal. With all that said, are you confident we can get there?
Well, Sean, we'll see, but I'm confident if anybody could get us there, it's President Trump. You're right. I'm not going to, announce or negotiate anything on national television, certainly not ahead of the president. But we do have some cautious optimism. You saw the Ukrainians move from where we were in the Oval Office to where we were in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, with Secretary of State Rubio. And you saw President Putin's press conference today. Of course, both sides are going to have their demands. And of course, both sides are going to have to make some compromises. And the shuttle diplomacy of going back and forth is happening. I've spoken to my counterpart, Special Envoy Witkoff is out there and bringing things back for us to evaluate and for the President Trump to make decisions on next steps.
Yeah, I think, look, it's obviously very important for everybody. If I were to imagine how this deal unfolds, it's going to be the rare earth mineral deal, a component that keeps U.S. involvement and a presence in Ukraine. Maybe European troops can be in Ukraine as well. I would imagine that Ukraine being a part of NATO is not going to happen, and I would imagine parts, maybe the Donbass region in particular, or areas that are heavily populated by people from Russia, that would go to Putin in any negotiated settlement. Am I wrong in my conjecture here?
Sean, no surprise, you're not wrong in any of that. And what's important is that we are discussing all of those things with both sides. We are having those discussions with our counterparts with the Russians. We are having those discussions with our counterparts with the Ukrainians. And we are pushing both sides together with President Trump, the deal maker in chief, that is determined to end this war. And for everyone that is just hand-wringing Democrats that were demanding ceasefires and diplomacy in Gaza, marching in the streets still, but yet have some kind of inherent opposition to President Trump driving this war to an end and stopping the killing. He's determined to do it. He's got a great team around him, and then we're going to get this done.
What happened to the party that once was singing, "All we're saying is give peace a chance"? They seem to have disappeared. They're the party now of forever wars. Congratulations to the president, to you, to Secretary of State Rubio, to Steve Witkoff, and Godspeed. It's a heavy lift.